Okay, so my name's Paul, I'm the Board Game Nut. Welcome to my board, card and miniature YouTube channel. We're talking about board games, miniature games, card games. Obviously you're looking today to learn how to play Manhattan Project. Maybe you've seen my review of it or someone else's review, or you've just heard about the game, you like the look of it, you've bought it, and you've tuned into my YouTube channel to learn how to play the game. Quite a handy thing about my little videos, it's about 10 minutes I reckon for this video. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know how to play this game. Maybe on a lunch break, maybe you're on a train journey, whatever. Boom, open up your smartphone, learn how to play this game. By the time you get home, you can grab it, run off to your local game club, or bust it out on your coffee table with your wife or your friends, and you can play this game after my video. So this is the Manhattan Project. Let's get stuck in. Okay, so this is the Manhattan Project. This is the main board. Got it set up for a 2-player game. I've got a couple of bits happening, so the game's sort of underway. That's why we've got a worker out on the board here and an engineer here. Engineer had to go here because it's got the little engineer head symbol. Do you see that? So I placed an engineer here earlier, and I got myself a couple of yellow cake, which I'm going to use later on. So this is the game board. I'm going to kind of run through what each spot does, because that's what a worker placement game is like. You need to know what each spot does. I'm just going to show you the rest of the setup though. Game's sort of underway. So we've got my board here. So that's my player board. As you can see, I'm currently playing as Japan. I've got a few buildings set up. I've got my fighters on the go, some bombers. Even though there's only 10 spots on this board, these buildings, when you acquire a new building, it comes onto your board, but you can have as many buildings as you want. So you can have up to 20 buildings, you can have them all over here and all over there, but it's just your spot for your first 10. So let's just go back to the player board. So having a look at the board here, this is where you acquire new buildings. So on my turn, I could place a worker. I could then play the cost of the building up here. So if you have a look, it says it's 2 money or an engineer, 3 money or an engineer, 5 money, 7 money, 10 money, 14 money, and then at the end it's 20 money for that one. So on my turn, I place a worker, I acquire a new building. So in fact what I'll probably do is I'll probably use an engineer. I'm going to take this building for free. Actually, I'm going to take that one because that's better building. And then all the rest of the buildings, they just slide down. And then we turn the top card of the building deck over. And then that's how the buildings work. So there's the building deck. You just saw that out of shot there. But the building deck's there. So they come, take one, they slide across. If you ever build one of these really expensive buildings, 1 money goes into the bride pot. Because I built one of the cheaper cost buildings, I get the money that was in the bride pot. More money comes into the bride pot from other spots. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. So that's how the building tracks work. That's how you build new buildings. That's how you get them into your little player. As you can see, I've now added this building to to my little place there. Look. Right, so back to the board. This is airstrikes. This is how you perform an airstrike. There's only 2 spots on the board where you can perform airstrikes. This is how you repair your buildings after an airstrike. This spot on the board here gives you 2 fighters. This spot here gives you 2 bombers. I'm just going to try and zoom in on that a little bit actually. Okay, so yeah, 2 fighters in there, 2 bombers. Here, I place a worker and 3 yellow cake, and I get 5 money. Because it's got this little red symbol there, 1 money would go to that bride pot I was talking about. I could place any worker I want here: labourer, scientist, engineer. There's 3 types in this game. So your basic one is a labourer. Hey, that's a labourer. That's scientist. And that's an engineer. These are grey ones. You've all got your own coloured ones. So I've got, you know, I've got blue ones. My opponent over there, he's red. So he's got red ones. So yeah, on these spots, oh, where have we gone? So this spot here, I place any type of worker I want. I get 5 money. Everyone else gets 2 money, and 1 money goes to the bride pot. Here, I can place an engineer or a scientist. The bride pot gets 1 money because of that symbol, and then I'd get 3 money. So I place an engineer here. I get 3 money. 1 money goes to the bride pot. Over here, we got the mines. So the mines here, I go here with any type of worker. I pay 5 money and I get 4 yellow cake. Here, I place any type of worker, 5 money and a worker. Place any type of worker here, I get 3 yellow cake, everyone else gets 1. Here, as you can see, I've had to place an engineer, hence my little engineer, and I get 2 yellow cake. Next to that, we've got the universities. Here, I can place any type of worker I want. Now, everyone starts with 4 of these labourers, but on the board, on the spare pot over here, there's grey ones over there, look. So on my turn, I could place a blue worker, and then I'd get to collect from the supply the 3 grey workers, and then obviously they just get popped down onto my supply for later on. I could place any type of worker I want here and he becomes an engineer. Any worker here and he becomes a scientist. Here I'd have to pay 3 money, but I could have an engineer or a scientist. Now earlier I was talking about the bomb cards. Here I'd have to place, the only spot on the board you can place a scientist and an engineer at the same time. So I place a scientist and engineer, and what I do is I pick the 3 bomb cards that are on display. Pick them, I choose one. So I'm going to choose this one because it's 20 victory points. That goes in my display, that goes in my play area face down. I'd then pass these 2 to my opponent. So I pass them to him. He chooses one or she chooses one, and then she gives me 1 back. So if you're playing a 5-player game, there'd be 6 of these bomb cards on display. And if you do the bomb design action, you're always going to end up with 2 cards. You get the first pick, then you get the last pick. So that's the bomb designs. And then next to that, I've got the way to collect plutonium and uranium. That's a plutonium and uranium track. So I place a scientist, 2 yellow cake, and I get 1 plutonium. Scientist 3 money, 2 yellow cake, and I get uranium. And whenever I did that action here, so I could place a scientist, use the 2 yellow cake I collected earlier on, and 3 money, and 3 money, and then I put all those back in the general supply, and I get an extra uranium. Now, cool thing about this game, there's one more spot on the board actually. I'm just going to show you that quick. We've got the espionage track. So whenever I use the espionage track, I could use a worker, so I'm going to use a grey one. My espionage goes up by 1. Because I'm an espionage 2, I can now use, if I wanted, 2 of my opponent's buildings. So I have a look at my opponent's buildings. I'm going, that would look pretty expensive to me there. But I think I'm going to stick a couple of those, because I've done my... The thing about this game is you do 1 board action, and then you can do as many actions on your board as you want. So the cool thing about this, because I've activated... So let's just say this is my turn. I've activated the espionage track, and now I'm going to go over here using the 2 grey workers I picked up in a previous turn, and I'm going to use this mine over here. So I'm going to pop a couple of guys here. I'm going to take a couple of yellow cake, stick that back in my supply. So that goes back in my supply. And if you look at the top of the buildings, they've got a question mark. They can be any type of worker you want. But some of them will have scientists or engineers. So I've done that. I'm going to carry on with my actions. So I'm going to place... I haven't got any scientists, so I'm going to use another worker. Bear in mind, this is all in 1 turn. So I've done my board action over there, which is espionage. I'm going to place a worker here. Gets me 1 of my scientists from the supply. Then going to use my... Oh, I'm short of yellow cake here. Let's just pretend I've got a yellow cake. So I've got yellow cake, and then I'm going to I'm going to go with my scientist here, 1 money and 3 yellow cake, and that gives me 1 uranium. So my uranium goes up, I spend those resources. Now I've still got other actions I can do. So if we look, I'm going to go and I'm going to, as well as doing many board actions as you want, you can build these cards. So on my turn, I'm going to play a scientist, 3 engineers and my 5 uranium, because I've got 5 uranium, and I get to build that. And when I build the card, when I build that card, I then put it face up on my turn. So I've got this scientist, 2 engineers, I've paid my 5 uranium, and it also costs 3 money to load the bomb. So I'm going to pay my 3 money because I've still got some money. So I can do as many bomb actions as I want. So if I had the resources and the workers to build this, I could carry on building it. But at the moment, as part of this bomb action, I'm going to spend my 3 money. And I get one of these, which is a loaded bomb symbol, which means it gives me an extra 5 VP. So that's worth, oh, that's now worth 25 VPs. So then red person takes their go. It then comes back to my go. Now there's a couple of things, because I'm only down to a couple of workers. All my scientists or engineers are out, so I can either place workers or retrieve. So I'm going to do a retrieve worker action. So I retrieve all of my workers from my player board, all of the workers from the board, and if there's any grey workers on the player board, they get replaced back to the supply there. Look, so I've retrieved all my workers. The grey ones I've placed over there on the red player's board. They're going to stay there until he does a retrieve worker action. My blue, if I had a blue one over there, he'd come back, but I'll be sneaky and I've put the grey ones there to try and hinder the red play a little bit. So there's one more thing I need to show you, which is airstrikes. So when I do an airstrike action, it's quite simple really. I place a worker. I'm going to place any worker, so I'm going to stick a labourer down here. Now I use my fighters. I have 1 fighter. I know that my opponent's only got 1, so I spend my 1 fighter using my airstrike action to take out this person's fighters. I then use my bombers. Oh, hang on. Remember when I did the load action and I paid 3 money to get that? I have to use a bomber. So I've already used 1 bomber when I did my load action on my bomb card. So I've still got 2 bombers left. I've used my fighter to kill out his fighters. If he still had fighters left, I wouldn't be able to bomb him. But he's zeroed out on his fighters. He's not been building any. So I've got 2 bombers. So I'm going to use both my bombers. I'll take some of these damage markers from the supply, and I bomb his buildings. And I don't like him having that factory, so I'm going to bomb the factory twice. So I've got 2 damage on there. Look, these are double-sided, these counters, 1 and 2. I put 2 damage on that factory. Now on red's turn, he could, if he wanted, place one of his workers and pay 5 money, but I know he hasn't got 5 money. Oh, hang on. How much money has red player got? Yeah, he's hiding a yellow one for a what 5 money. So on red player's turn, he puts a worker there, 5 money, and then he can repair up to 3 points worth of damage, and then he repairs that. So that's basically everything you need to know. You've got the uranium and plutonium track there. Remember, your plutonium bombs have got 2 points values. They've got a lower point value and a higher point value. When you build the plutonium bomb with scientists, engineers, spending all that plutonium, you can scrap it, which means this card goes to the bottom of the bomb card deck. So I'll put that on the bottom of the deck. And then you get the test plutonium bomb. It's for testing plutonium bombs. Obviously you look out for a lower cost plutonium bomb. There's like some, I think there's a couple in this deck which don't really cost that many, to be honest. Like this one. So I'll probably try and mill through the deck until I've got that. So that's everything you need to know on how to play the Manhattan Project. Okay, so that was my rules breakdown of the Manhattan Project. I hope after that video you've now got a good understanding of how the game works and how it plays out. I'm just trying to think, did I miss anything out? No, just remember on your turn you're either placing workers or you're going to retrieve workers, and that's it really. Remember, you do one board action, so it's one of those spots on the board. Then you can activate as many of your buildings as you want, or if you've done the espionage, you can activate your opponent's buildings and your buildings. Remember, on a place worker action, you can build as many of those bomb cards as you want and do as many bomb card actions as you want. So that might be testing a plutonium bomb, it might be loading bombs, because any of your bombs can be loaded. Remember, if you load a bomb, you've got to spend a bomber. So that's it really. That's the Manhattan Project. I hope you found my video helpful and useful. Get out there and play and enjoy the Manhattan Project. I've been Paul, the Board Game Nut. Thanks for tuning in to my channel. See ya.